Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video on the channel. It's Dave Q back with another video, and we're going to be talking about an announcement that PlayStation has made in the past weeks that has riled up a lot of feathers. So PlayStation announced that they'll be ending physical media come 2028 for the PS5 and further PlayStation models moving forward. Now, it has definitely caused a lot of outrage online, and some people have come out to defend it, some people have condemned PlayStation for this announcement. But I'm here to talk about one thing, being how this affects African gaming scene as a whole. Because Africa has been involved in gaming for the longest time, since the PS2 era. Now, the 2026 landscape looks very different from when it did way back then. By market revenue, it shows that in modern day times, the smartphone platform, being Android and iOS, have become the most popular platforms to game on just by market revenue, because they account for 61% of generated revenue year on year by video games. So that's out of the whole video game market, 61% of the revenue comes from smartphones in Africa. Now, console gaming is second most popular, although the numbers to find out were hard, but it has been shown that PC and consoles have the remaining 39% as the market revenue, and consoles are more popular than PCs in Africa just by gaming alone, and that speaks to how the market is in Africa. Even though the console market is smaller than it would be in a lot of other places, it's still very consistent. Now, that isn't to say that the experience with consoles is generally smoother in Africa. We still have account creation issues, because out of the 52 countries in Africa, 51 are actually delisted on the PlayStation network. So if we want to create an African account, the only one country you can make from, that's South Africa. Every other country isn't supported. And then we also have region locking issues, because if you create an account with a country, that account will be tied to that country, even if it's not your country of origin, forever. So anything that you have to do with that happens as well. And then we also have the issues of restricted payments, because due to Africa's volatile economies and because of how these things are, that's the agreements between countries and maybe game providers like PlayStation and Xbox, a lot of payments are either heavily restricted or not allowed at all from African countries. So that leads to people getting into virtual currency cards, like virtual dollar cards and gift cards, just to circumvent these restrictions. And those even come with their own price hikes if you're using a gift card or a virtual card. Trust me, there's always a hidden fee. So in that kind of climate, the role of the disc cannot be overstated enough. It helps in bypassing geo-blocking restrictions and account restrictions just to enjoy the game without hassle or stress. Pop in the game and it's ready to play. Or you download an extra patch or extra files if you are connected to the internet, and boom, you have your game. And that medium has basically kept the gaming industry of the console market alive in Africa for as long as they have been there. And that is what I think led to PlayStation's dominance in Africa as a whole, because other platforms, believe it or not, like Xbox and Nintendo, don't really have a footing here in Africa. It's PlayStation in every store you enter, and that's how it has been for the longest time. And this delicate ecosystem has now been upset by this announcement from PlayStation. So what are the unseen consequences of this kind of announcement from PlayStation? Because it isn't just about ending physical games and then everybody moving to a digital platform. There's more to it than meets the eye. So the first issue is that games are going to become more expensive, because physical games have always been cheaper than their digital counterparts. There's no debating it. Across older generations of consoles, even in the current generation of consoles, there has always been a price gap. Now, with the elimination of physical media, there is no more price gap. There is only a standardized price across every single console, unless maybe they start introducing dynamic pricing. I don't know. But it has generally been that getting into consoles has been affordable because of the availability of physical media. And these kinds of changes, believe it or not, will harm that kind of ease to get into the system through having affordable games. Now, for context, in Nigeria alone, a regular PS5 game on a physical game will cost around 35,000 naira to 65,000 naira. That's like the standard price. If you get the games for cheaper, then that's good on you. Maybe they were used or something like that, but still, it's like an advantage. Now, for context, modern day games are launching at $70, $80, and for $70, I think that's like 96,000 naira out flat. So, if someone is even planning on getting into a PS5 ecosystem after years of saving, that's like a huge chunk of an average person's salary just on one game. And a lot of games are even creeping up to $80 or $100. Automatically, without that ease of having physical media at the ready, it just spikes up the price across the board. If you haven't bought into PS4, PS5 games earlier when they were cheaper, going forward now they will be more expensive on average for African gamers. Another effect of this announcement is going to be the workarounds are going to get more expensive. That's the virtual dollar cards and the gift cards. Because it's not as if they weren't already marked up to hell already. They are now going to become even more expensive because of the demand caused by this market shift. It's basically going to become an all-out war of finding the best deals, the best kind of vendors, the best storefronts to get this kind of cards, because they are going to become very expensive. The markups are already very irregular and very unregulated, so there's no standardized kind of pricing for these kind of things. You just wake up one day and any price you see, you buy it if it's low, and you stay away if it's too much for you. But gift cards specifically are a victim of this deal because those are what are more or less more accessible. So because of this accessibility and because of the demand that will soon come after this, it's going to cause whole ballooning of prices. And then virtual dollar cards, those ones are just my experience with virtual dollar cards has not been good. And I would say that they are easier to get into, but then they're also not, because you have to deal with card identification issues as a whole. If the card gets flagged as a local card or an international card, that's one aspect. And then you have the fees, the hidden fees, like I said earlier before. These fees can come whether you send in money, whether you take out money, whether the card gets declined, every sort of thing, and then you end up losing more money than you bargained for just because you want to play a game. It's going to happen, it's going to become more expensive. Another point I would like to point towards is that this could possibly cause the console market to shrink in Africa going forward. Because if these consoles become more expensive to get into, a lot of consumers will be turned off by that and may not want to get into it, or may stay on older hardware for longer and may not buy into the newer ecosystems or games, may not buy into the newer games or ecosystems. So this can look like, okay, coming forward from this PS5 era, if the PS6 should launch without any physical media, it's going to become less popular because everyone knows that means you're going to buy games at a very steep price, because they'll be priced in dollars and inflation rates, all of that. It's going to become very expensive very fast. Now, considering how things are going currently in the gaming landscape, of how consoles are getting more expensive, games are getting more expensive. Back when the PS5 launched in Nigeria, it was a starting price of 650,000 naira as at the 2020 period it launched. Now, modern day PS5, a base PS5, costs you maybe around 850 to 900,000 depending on the state of the PS5. And it could even get as high as 1.2 million if you are looking at a pro version of the PS5. So if these things keep getting more expensive, and if they have this restriction of physical media that it's not available at all, you only buy digital games, the console market can potentially shrink due to a reduction in demand. Basically, the more expensive it gets, the less people may want to buy it. And I don't know if Sony will reel from that in their corporate offices because they're a $1 billion company at the end of the day. I'm sure a continent's worth of audience is not enough for them, or rather, it's maybe too much for them. That's a mistake. Now, this is another reason that I'm very sure not this will not jive over well in Africa as a whole. Because of a lack of physical media, vendors will only have one thing to hold on to get their money back, and that is the hardware. So we're going to see an inevitable hardware price hike. That's the consoles themselves will go up rapidly, suddenly, and very, very disgustingly. Because if we think about how the PlayStation has gone up in price, like I've said before, that is going to be more atrocious for the next generation of consoles and even current inventory that vendors may have specifically. I have this friend that I usually talk to in a while that he has been planning on buying a PS5 for the longest time. And anytime that it seems like he's nearing his goal, the prices just go up. And I always tell him to buy this thing before the prices go up. And he keeps delaying. And then the prices go up again. And he then comes back and tells me that I said this thing. Oh. So this hardware price hike, I'm pointing at you. I'm pointing at you, bro. Go and buy it now before they raise the prices again. I've told you now. So this is also new information I'm just getting. Apparently, the PlayStation Network was down on the 23rd of July 2026 for close to 8 hours, and people were unable to access some of their digital games. So should the network be compromised, experience downtime, or inevitably shut down for some reason, people can lose access to whatever digital products they may have tied to the PSN or whatever other platform on the PlayStation. So that is a very real fear, and that is something that can also happen as a result of not having physical media going forward. If your strategy is to put all your eggs in one basket, don't be surprised if something happens to the basket and the eggs become compromised. So in this sense, the games. Now, PlayStation has, had the physical digital for the longest time. Now, everyone's eggs are in one basket, cost coming from 2028. And that is something that a lot of people have pointed out in recent times. And this server a crisis that they had in recent times is just an episode to that. So, what does this mean for console gaming going forward? Now, it's definitely going to see a decrease in its popularity and maybe even a shrink in the market compared to PC platform and the mobile platform, because these things are honestly just becoming quite expensive to justify their value. Before, it used to be that you could get a game on the whim, like when you felt like it, if you had enough money, and you could just enjoy it for what it was. Now the platforms are becoming more expensive, the games as well, and they are also becoming more harder to access due to the very nature of their existence in Africa. Remember, account restrictions, geo blocking, all that good stuff. So what does that speak about the platform? While PlayStation has been the dominant platform for probably over 20 years by now in Africa, that is going to definitely change. Because if it's that these platforms become less and less accessible, a platform like PlayStation cannot justify its existence to Africans when they have platforms like the smartphones and also PCs. Because in this race to get to the ideal ecosystem by PlayStation, they are possibly foregoing what I would consider is their strongest asset in a continent like Africa. And that is just the nature of the games that we had, physical media. It has been a key for people accessing this platform because the internet infrastructure in Africa is still very bad. Try downloading 200 gigabytes of anything in any part of Africa. You will definitely understand what I'm talking about. But for now, we'll have to wait and see. And that brings us to the whole issue, the whole situation currently. PlayStation is ending physical media come 2028, and so far they've not made a stance revoking that statement or making any changes for any known reason. and that is these are just my honest takes on it. It's going to see a decrease in popularity eventually, and for now, I hope that these things can change. Something changes, but then it is what it is at the end of the day. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think that this all digital future can work out for Africa should things change? Or will will this future be more grim than it possibly can let on? Now there may be some details that I personally may have missed. So if you think I also missed that or you also want to share your thoughts on the topic, let me know in the comments below, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and also share the video if you feel motivated. And I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.